You Saturday at Hooked on Toys.
And happy holidays.
Happy Tuesday, television family. This is Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. Today's edition, by the way, of this program, not wrapped for individual sale. And I'm Dan Kuntz, 21st day of November. It is high clouds, 34 degrees. We're going to repeat yesterday. We're going to do it all over again today. We're still under the influence of a ridge of high pressure, but it did allow clouds to come in, and now the high pressure is going to be here for one more day. It's going to slide out overnight tonight. Give us a little bit, maybe a little bit of light rain on Wednesday, a little bit of light snow in the passes, nothing you can't handle. A rain-snow mix is expected on I-90. Mostly just rain on Snoqualmie, we think. Rain-snow mix on Stevens, perhaps. I don't think if you have travel plans on Wednesday, and a lot of people do, I don't think you're going to have any problems. Either way, whether you got folks coming in from the west side to visit you or you're heading the other way, you're going to be just fine. All those details are coming up. All in all, the weather's pretty boring, and I think that's pretty fine by me. I have no problem with that. We will have the news. It was another busy day in the newsroom yesterday and this morning, for that matter. In sports, the Seattle Kraken are really good at getting leads. They just can't hold on to leads. They've played a lot of overtime games this year, and they're not doing real good. Once they get to extra time, they lost to Calgary last night. We'll have highlights. Wild have a home game tonight. The Saskatoon Blades are in town. We'll preview that in sports. And in the back half of the hour, in our long-form interview segment, it's our news director, Jefferson Robbins, who had a chance to sit down with Representative Jackie Maycomber. She represents the 7th District, and up until redistricting, and she has been for quite some time, but up until redistricting, the 7th District didn't really entail any parts of our area. Well, now it does after the redistricting, after the census. There's a good chunk of Douglas County that Jackie Maycomber is your representative in Olympia. So we'll get to know Jackie in the back half of the program. We've got a lot going on. Busy Tuesday. As we get closer to Thanksgiving, let's take our tour around the valley. The Wenatchee Heights camera always begins our festivities, even if it's fogged and cloud over, and it's not clouded and fogged over. Sunrise this morning, 7:14, so we're not there yet, but it's still bright enough so we could use the camera. Sunset tonight, 4:19. That's 9 hours and 5 minutes of daylight. Days are getting shorter. And check out this little weather fact from yesterday. Our high on Monday was 42, and our low was 30. Our normal high on the 20th of November is 42, and our normal low on the 20th of November is 30. Our high and our low was exactly normal, which doesn't happen very often. Let's go up and visit our friends in Leavenworth. We went up to Leavenworth yesterday and visited some friends up there. We did another interview with Bozea and our good friends at Leavenworth Village Voices. Their Christmas concert series is coming up at the Snowy Owl Theater on the 2nd, the 10th, and the 16th. The 16th, a special show with Bozea as a special guest artist. You're going to see that interview in the not-too-distant future. Always good to see our friends in Leavenworth. And we saw some deer up there as well, right in downtown Leavenworth, just hanging around. Good morning to Leavenworth. Good morning to our Waterville camera, panning out over the Columbia River. That baby is zoomed out about as far as we can zoom it out. It's on a high ridge right over the top of a very bluff. So if we turn that camera about, another 100 degrees to the right, you would be able to see Waterville. That's pointed towards the Chelan area. You can see a few low clouds and fog there. Just a spectacular view. That camera is sky high. Well, it's the Sky-Fi system. That's how it works. And the Arundel Rock camera, probably still black and white. Nope, it just switched to color. That must have just happened. When we checked out this camera not 5 minutes ago, it was still black and white. Now it's color. You can see the high clouds hanging over the Wenatchee Valley, and that's what we're going to get all day today. In fact, today is pretty much an exact replica of what we had yesterday. The only difference is it might be a little bit warmer because we're off to a warmer start. It was 30 degrees yesterday at this time. It's 34 here in the big city. All right, your past forecast. This is an updated slide from what we showed you yesterday. As you can see on I-90, a little bit of rain. That would be late this afternoon and into the evening hours. On Stevens Pass, same deal, rain, mostly in the overnight hours after the sun goes down tonight if you're traveling tonight. And then Wednesday on I-90, just rain, not heavy rain, light, consistent rain. Kind of a rain-snow mix on Stevens. Of course, Stevens is about 1,000 feet higher in elevation, but it's really not going to stick to the roadway. They're thinking just a little bit of snow And with the rain-snow mix, I don't think you're going to have any problems at all. Lookout Pass, if you're heading off to the east towards Montana, a rain-snow mix on Lookout Pass on Wednesday night and a little bit of snow on Thursday. All in all, you can't ask for better travel conditions than that. It's been a lot worse going into a Thanksgiving weekend than what we have coming your way for the next couple of days. It looks pretty quiet. Safe travels, buckle up, and you're good to go. From the National Weather Service, under the influence of high pressure, again, we still got the clouds and the fog. The clouds will be kind of increasing throughout the day. In fact, it'll be real cloudy by the end of the day because later on today, that ridge is going to break down and a little system, not a big system, but a trough is going to pass through. So cloudy today, 44, just a couple of degrees warmer than normal, 35 for the overnight low tonight. We'll have considerably more clouds tonight than we had last night. We did have some cloud breaks last night. 47, but lots of clouds. Slight chance of a little bit of rain on Wednesday. Mostly, if it comes at all, it'll be late in the afternoon into the early evening hours, but no snow. Snow level is going to be about 3,800 feet. 28 for the overnight low Wednesday. Sunshine all day Thursday. For Thanksgiving, looking good. Highs in the mid-40s. All of these highs are just slightly above normal. Sunshine all day for Black Friday. Sunshine all day for Small Business Saturday. I'm liking this. This is a nice forecast. A little cooler on Sunday and a little cooler still on Monday, but there's just no real weather to talk about. And quite frankly, that's fine by me. All right, going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll have your headlines. You're watching the Tuesday edition of Wake Up Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Life Channel.
It's the music that revolutionized the sound of Christmas. Mannheim Steamroller Christmas by Chip Davis. Celebrating the holiday spirit for over 35 years. Don't miss this holiday extravaganza. Mannheim Steamroller Christmas by Chip Davis. America's favorite Christmas tradition.
If you're helping a relative, friend, or neighbor with tasks like shopping and meals, then you're a family caregiver, and we celebrate you. November is National Family Caregiver Month, when those who selflessly assist relatives, friends, and neighbors are honored for their work. Aging in Adult Care can help you help them with chore services, respite, and home-delivered meals. Call Aging in Adult Care of Central Washington at 1-800-572-4459 for family caregiver support.
The newest generation of GMC Sierra pickups offer the most advanced technology, the strongest selection of powertrain, and everything else you need to work hard, play hard, and explore the boundaries of the Wenatchee Valley and beyond. Take a look at the latest, most luxurious and durable trucks on the market.
You will see why GMC is not your grandfather's pickup.
You want to bet, kid?
High clouds, we're at 34 degrees. Clouds will be thickening up as the day progresses. A little bit of light rain possible Wednesday. We should be dry, just kind of cloudy for the next couple of days. And then starting Thanksgiving Day and right through the holiday weekend, nothing but sunshine. Temperatures just a little bit above normal. It's 9 minutes after the hour. Prosecutors say Dalton Scott Potter faces a minimum of 53 years in prison when he's sentenced next month for the murder of Alyssa Longwell. The 28-year-old Potter shot and killed Longwell, his former girlfriend, on the shoulder of Badger Mountain Road back in January. A Douglas County jury convicted him of first-degree murder and 6 related felonies on October 30th. Now, prosecutor Gordon Edgar, he submitted a sentencing memo Monday that says Potter's standard sentencing range would be 53 to 65 years in prison, although Edgar has not yet recommended a specific prison term. Judge John Nodell is the visiting Grant County judge who presided over the trial. He has the option to impose a stiffer sentence if he so desires. Potter is due to undergo sentencing on December 14th. During the sentencing hearing, by the way, Longwell survivors and witnesses to the attack will quite probably give statements. A Chelan resident is suspected of sexually exploiting 2 teenage girls in exchange for fentanyl. 39-year-old Abraham Escara was arrested Thursday by Chelan County Sheriff's deputies. They say he demanded sex from 2 teenage victims, as well as compromising photographs in exchange for providing the drugs over a period of a couple of years. The case has been under investigation since roughly mid-2022. Escalera remains held in the Chelan County Jail on $750,000 bond. Prosecutors have until next week to bring formal charges. Police are seeking counts including child rape, sexual exploitation, and commercial abuse, sexual abuse of a minor. Wenatchee Mayor-elect Mike Poyer has admitted to violating Public Disclosure Commission rules regarding campaign materials when he ran for office. Mailers sent to Wenatchee voters that featured an endorsement by outgoing Mayor Frank Kuntz. Those mailers did not include a disclosure of who paid for the materials. That disclosure is required to be placed on campaign advertising in the state of Washington. Former mayoral candidate James McLaughlin, who came in third in the primary back in August, raised the issue in a complaint to the Washington Public Disclosure Commission on October 30th. In a letter to the PDC on November 9th, Poyer, who takes office officially on January 1st, admitted that the sponsor information was left off in error. He took responsibility for the mistake. Campaign law violations can be punishable by a fine. The PDC is still reviewing the matter. The softball fields at Triangle Park now have an architect. The Wenatchee School Board will be meeting tonight. It's a special meeting to approve the contract for architectural design services with the Spokane-based Bernardo Wills architecture firm. The meeting will be held in the boardroom of the district office at 5 o'clock tonight. It'll be live streamed on the district website. You can also watch it on YouTube. The last update on the softball fields came in September. That's when project manager Rob Gross presented the board a timeline during the meeting. Gross said construction will begin in April. The project should be completed by August. A species of squirrel that makes its home in our area, specifically Okanagan and Clicktacack County, is, officially endangered now in our state. The Washington Fish and Wildlife Commission voted Friday to grant what's called an uplisting to the western gray squirrel. And that means the tree-dwelling critter moves from threatened status, so it's been in threatened status since 1993. It's now endangered, meaning it's subject to further state protection. Biologists estimate there are less than 500 western gray squirrels left in the state of Washington. And tribal members and descendants reconnected with their cultural roots last Friday as they took part in the Indigenous Roots and Reparation Foundation's third annual Indian Hemp Field Trip. Indian hemp, or dogbane, had previously been eradicated in some areas by settlers because of its effect on their horses. Well, retired plant specialist Sylvia Peasley, who was one of the workshop instructors for the day, worked to locate cultural plants at the Huron Natural Area, and it became a gathering place for the Colville Confederated Tribes. IRRF took the field trip participants back to the Huron Natural Area to gather the hemp, and then they returned to the Wenatchee Valley Museum and Cultural Center to learn more. Peasley and the treasurer of the IRRF, Jordan Lucky, spoke to this very television station about the significance of that day.
We just wanted to offer this opportunity to people to come back and get in touch with their culture and to learn new things from our elders and pass on these traditions and just be on the land and in community with each other. We all gathered together and were able to go out on the land and harvest the hemp, and then we came back here to the museum where we had lunch, and then we had teachers show us how to process the hemp. And we've just been here processing hemp and making twine and learning the cultural significance of Indian hemp and how it was used traditionally and how we can carry on those traditions and use it in our daily lives now.
I think it's important to come down to the land. This is the Piscosa land here, and we work a lot in this area to show our presence for the people. I'm not Piscosa, my grandfather was, but he told stories of when they would camp, when they would come and pick huckleberries and gather and stuff. And I think it's important for us to return back to the lands of our people and show our presence that we are still here. We are still capable of sharing the knowledge that we have had passed down to us. A friend of mine, she's an elder, was a basket weaver, and I was watching her once and she just handed me a bundle and stuff, said, "Here, we're sitting here together today, I'm going to show you." And she started showing me how to make a basket, and so I started making baskets. And I wasn't working with Indian hemp so much till about 5 or 6 years ago. I saw a demonstration at the Wanapum Archaeology Days. An elder was processing hemp and stuff, and I went out to talk to her about her process that she was doing, and it became addictive because then I wanted to run home. I want to make my own tools. I'm going to gather all these plants because we'd already been documenting locations in Collector on our iPad of where we find cultural plants in our usual and custom areas of all the 12 tribes that make up the Colville tribe. So we started going out and processing and gathering hemp, and I wanted to learn how to make baskets because you see these pieces in museums and it's almost a lost art of how to collect it, how to process it, how to use it. It was used for bowstrings, dip nets, weaving tule mats, making clothing, basket bags, horse bridles, all kinds of things, and our people used it as a utility fiber for everything.
Fascinating stuff indeed, and that's the news on this Tuesday morning. If you're interested in what's going on in the Wenatchee Valley in north central Washington, we invite you to watch our newscast at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 10 o'clock on TV. 5, 6, and 10. Doesn't work for you? It's up and running on our homepage, ncwlife.com. You can watch our news on our Facebook page. You can also watch the news on our YouTube page. And if there's something out there that you think we need to know about, let us know about it, and we can get the word out to everybody else. We're kind of like the middle of the hourglass, if you will, a conduit. Give us an email, news@ncwlife.com. Sports is next. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Life channel.
Have you been to Boswell's Furniture lately?
Yes, Boswell's has an expansive 2-story showroom filled with so many great choices for our living room, dining room, and bedroom.
Did you know that Boswell sells directly from their store inventory, so we wouldn't have to wait to get our new furniture?
Yes, plus Boswell's has free local delivery and complimentary design service to help us with the layout and fabric choices.
No waiting and amazing customer service. I mean, why would we go anywhere else?
Boswell's on Easy Street. It's closer than you think.
The Clearwater Saloon and Casino has the best Vegas-style games in East Wenatchee. Come enjoy yourself and discover the nightly action. Win big and meet new friends at the Clearwater Saloon and Casino.
Well, sunshine up on Birch Mountain for the 9th time this year. The Seattle Kraken went into extra hockey. Problem is they're not very good when they get into extra hockey. They lost again. They're now 3-6 in games that ended up in overtime or a shootout. Calgary beats them last night. The final there was 4-3 in overtime. The Kraken held a 1-goal lead late in the third. Have we heard this before? The Flames tied it and then won it in overtime.
On a change, Elias Lindholm. Anderson shot off the side of the goal. Mangiapane all the way back. Flung along by Mackenzie Weegar. Anderson, Lindholm, he scores! Elias Lindholm, sustained pressure, and the Flames break the ice.
A little lucky play there from Kadri.
Face-off win, Dunn scores! Oh, a missile from 29, Vince Dunn from downtown. The Kraken have tied it. Larson kicks it back. Kadri on Alexiak to the point. Rasmus Anderson. He'll organize it. Huberdeau with a shot. They score! It glances by Grubauer. Eberle out of the corner. Although Mr. Crawford did an excellent job last season. It's blocked in front. Eberle right on. They score! It's the hockey gods again for Jordan Eberle as Anderson knocked down in front by Uyghur. He turns it over. Larson's shot. Scores! McCann out in front. A big blast by the Big Cat. Initiates the play. 9:35 left in the second. It's McCann's goal. 3-2 Seattle. Face off, won by Calgary. Noah Hannafin off the boards. Out in front. They score! Andrew Mangiapane off the scramble. 4:07 left. And the Flames have tied it. Schwartz, Wenberg, and Larson on the ice. This is Michael Backlund. Rasmus Anderson going wide. Decor caught. He recovers. Anderson scores on the follow-up. Rasmus Anderson wins it in overtime with 92 seconds left.
Cracking her off today. They're back home tomorrow. Hopefully it won't get into extra hockey. San Jose, the Sharks will be in town 7 o'clock on Root Sports Northwest. Seahawks back home trying to heal the wounds of that difficult loss to L.A. on Sunday. The Rams dealing Seattle's 4th loss of the season. Coach Pete Carroll said it was the self-inflicted wounds that hurt Seattle more than anything that L.A. did.
We overcame a good part of the things that we did on both sides of the football, but it still hindered us and kept us from getting all the points we could get. We missed touchdown opportunities. We have to kick field goals. And so it's something that we're dealing with. We just have to get to everybody's brain and make sure that everybody can make the right decision at the right time. We need to do a better job, and I need to do a better job of making sure I'm reaching them and making it happen. So we'll call for a recommitment today, and the guys do their part to make the right choices and the right use the right techniques at the right time so we stay out of trouble and all of that. So and it's on everybody.
It's a short week for sure. So the morning game, of course, Detroit, and then the afternoon game is Dallas, and then the evening game, it's Seattle and San Francisco. By the way, both teams will wear throwback uniforms. That'll be 5:20 Thursday night on the National Broadcasting Company. The college basketball season getting off to a slow start. A couple of games of interest, though. Second-ranked Purdue, they're good. They erased a 5-point halftime deficit and beat Gonzaga, 11th ranked, 73-63. That was in the quarterfinals of the Maui Invitational. Graham Ike led the Bulldogs with 14 points. And Haley Van Lith scored a season-high 16 points, had 5 assists. LSU squashed Texas Southern 106-47. Haley scored 8 of her points in the first quarter. Wenatchee Wild have the Saskatoon Blades in town in Western Hockey League action tonight. They are from the largest city is Saskatchewan. They're tied for first in the Eastern Conference of the WHL with Medicine Hat. I sat down with Wild broadcaster Austin Drade to preview tonight's game. Well, they rolled into town early morning, Austin. Saskatoon Blades. They're practicing on the ice behind us at the Town Toyota Center. They'll be in town tonight, of course, to take on the Wenatchee Wild. Good team. Tied with Medicine Hat for first place in the Eastern Division. This is a quality team that the Wild will be facing tonight.
This is probably as good a team, other than maybe Portland or Prince George, that the Wilds will see the first half of the season. They're strong in all facets of the game, especially early on in the game. They don't give up a whole lot, but especially early in the game, they lock things down pretty well on D and get a good feel for the game early on. One of the top goaltenders in the league in Austin Elliott, 2 of the top scorers in the league coming into the week. It's a solid team across the board, and they're a disciplined group. They don't take a lot of penalties. They don't give you too much.
You mentioned their goalie. They've only allowed 53 goals this year. That's the second lowest in the league. It's hard to put the ball in the back of the net against these guys.
It's hard to get the puck in the net against these guys. Goaltending's good, but they've got good defense in front of them too, and they don't give up a lot of second chances either. So every goal we get, every opportunity these guys get, they'll have to earn, and at the end of the night, they'll know whatever they got in this one, they earned it.
And they're dead last in the league in penalty minutes, which means they play clean hockey. Is that necessarily a good thing to be the cleanest team in the league?
Well, I think the numbers help tell part of the story. They don't always tell the entire story, but when you're not picking up penalties, when you're not racking up minutes, you're staying out of the box. And when you're staying out of the box, you're keeping your guys on the ice. You're keeping yourself in the game. So, to a certain extent, I think it tells a good chunk of the story. Maybe not the whole story, but it tells you a lot.
The Wild are in second place, by the way, in the Western Conference. They are 14-8-2. They got 30 points. That's the same, by the way, as the visitors tonight. They're just 2 points back of first place, Prince George. Puck drops at the Town Toyota Center at 6 o'clock. Tickets go to WenatcheeWildHockey.com. And finally, winter sports season getting underway. They have practices and jamborees, and we have our broadcast schedule set, and there it is. It starts on Wednesday, December 13th with Big Nine Wrestling, Eastmont hosting Moses Lake. We wrap up regular season on Friday, January 26th with Eastmont and Wenatchee basketball. Just like the last few years, Eastmont and Wenatchee in basketball, boys and girls, will play each other 3 times this year. For more, you can look at our entire schedule by going to our website, ncwlife.com. And those are just some of the games that people are playing at 26 minutes after the hour. November 21st is always World Television Day, or National TV Day. My good friend and colleague, M. Tucker Wagner, made that graphic. He works in television, yet he doesn't like television. Maybe he's onto something, I don't know. Approximately 66% of American households have at least 3 televisions. I just have one, and oftentimes I think that's one too many. Half of Americans pay for their television, half. That sounds about right. If you're 65 years old, you would have seen about 2 million TV commercials in your lifetime. By the time you're 18 years old, you would have seen 200,000 fictional murders on television. That's kind of sobering. How many TV sets are there in the United States? About 300 million. A lot of TVs. Happy National Television Day today. I don't really think it deserves a holiday. It's 27 minutes after the hour. Whenever we do states and today in history, we throw up the flag. You want to take a guess at that one? Although it doesn't have the date on it, I'm not going to get into that. It's too kind of cattywampus. Happy birthday, North Carolina. Joined the Union as a 12th state 234 years ago today. The Tar Heel State, of course, derived from the state's history. In the early years of this country, North Carolina was the major source of tar, pitch, and turpentine. So it was said whenever you passed through North Carolina, you had tar on your heels. There's other cool facts about North Carolina, but I don't have time for it. Happy birthday, North Carolina, 234 years old today. Thank you, Thomas Edison, for doing this, baby. It was on this date in 1877, 146 years ago, that Thomas Edison announces to the public that he has invented a machine that could record sound and then play it back. There were rudimentary machines before this time, before 1877. They could record sound, but they couldn't play it back, or they could play back sound, but not record it. He put the two together and invented the phonograph record. I know Thomas Edison did a lot of bad things. He treated his employees like dirt and paid them like garbage and made them work long hours, but he invented the phonograph, baby. Thanks, Tom. That was 146 years ago today. E equals MC squared. Was Einstein right or wrong? I don't know. I'm not that smart. He announced his theory, the formula, the E equals MC squared, in some scientific paper on this date in 1905. I don't understand it. I'm not very bright. Thought we'd throw that one out there. 67 years ago today, Sun Records simply couldn't keep up with the demand of Elvis Presley product. It was a regional label. They ended up going into debt because they had to keep pressing all of these Elvis Presley records, and finally RCA came to the rescue. RCA Records purchases outright Elvis's contract from Sam Phillips and Sun Records. They paid an unheard of sum of $35,000. Elvis himself got a $5,000 bonus, and he went and bought his mom a house. Good boy, Elvis. Elvis goes to Sun Records on this date in 1955. American disc jockey Alan Freed fired on this date from WABC in New York over alleged allegations of payola. He was probably right. This was in 1959. Payola was legal. It wasn't made illegal until 1960, taking money from records companies to play their records. And it was the beginning of the end of Alan Freed, who coined the term rock and roll. Alan Freed fired from WABC on this date in 1959. Let's go over the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, shall we? It opened on this date 59 years ago. It connects Staten Island and Brooklyn. We're going to go from Staten Island to Brooklyn on the Verrazano Narrows Bridge. It is an impressive bridge. In fact, when it opened on this date in 1964, it was the longest bridge span in the world. Not the longest suspension bridge, but the biggest span, because a whole bunch of the bridge is on both sides of the Narrows. So it just doesn't go over the Narrows and then you're there. It goes into Brooklyn quite a ways before you're off the bridge, and it also goes into Staten Island quite a ways. So at the time, it was the world's longest bridge span. And because of thermal expansion in the summertime, when it's hot, the height of the upper roadway that we're going to travel on is actually 12 feet lower in the summertime than in the winter. It was designed that way. It's supposed to move around a little bit in the heat. And since the Narrows that goes into New York Harbor is the only entry point for cruise ships and container ships that port in New York City, one of the largest ports in the world, they have to be built, since 1964, they have to be built to actually get under the bridge. And a couple of them make it under the apex, the very middle of the bridge, by just inches. And by the way, the Verrazano Narrows Bridge collects tolls in both directions. It is the only outlet that goes in and out of New York City that collects tolls in both directions. All the others, they only collect tolls going into New York City, not going out of New York City. And you've made it to Staten Island. Happy birthday to the Verrazano Narrows Bridge. And the deadliest disaster in Nevada history, if you spend any time in Las Vegas, is now Bally's Hotel. It's still there. Back in 1980, 43 years ago, it was the MGM Grand Hotel. Here is Roger Mudd from the NBC Nightly News from 1980.
Good evening. At least 75 people have died today in a fire in the biggest hotel in Las Vegas. Another 300 were injured. The fire was in the MGM Grand Hotel and Casino, which was built in 1973. About 1,000 people escaped by fleeing to the hotel roof, where they were lifted off by helicopters. A county official said the blaze may have started from a grease fire in the kitchen of a ground floor delicatessen. We have a report from Frank Burkholzer.
The fire began shortly after 7 in the morning and spread throughout the ground floor casino and the famous showroom in a matter of minutes, sending thick black smoke up through the entire 26-story structure. The Grand has more than 2,000 rooms. There were believed to be some 4,500 guests in the hotel. Many of them tried to get fresh air by breaking windows.
We knocked the windows out, and then we merely followed instructions. Got on the floor so we couldn't inhale so much smoke, and got towels.
The smoke that guests let in by breaking those windows caused many of the deaths and injuries, according to fire officials. Rescue crews moved in quickly to attend to the hundreds who rushed to safety in the streets or thronged balconies or made their way to the roof for rescue by helicopter. The helicopters were crucial in rescue attempts. Fire ladders can reach only 9 stories high. No help to those on floors 10 to 26. And the fire alarm system was knocked out.
As we started walking down the hallways, most of the people were still unaware of what was going on. No alarms were going off. No personnel in the hotel made any effort where we were to notify anybody. No one was knocking on the doors.
Survivors were taken to the Las Vegas Convention Center for temporary shelter and to take the first steps back to normality. Hundreds of offers of shelter in private homes poured in. The injured, and there were many elderly persons among them, were taken to Las Vegas hospitals. And hours after the fire was put out, teams of firefighters searched floor after floor and brought out body after body, some who appeared to have died in their beds. Frank Burkholzer, NBC News, Las Vegas.
The fire itself didn't kill anybody. 85 people died. All of them died from smoke inhalation, because what was burning on the ground floor in the casino was PVC and glue and wallpaper, all kinds of toxic black fumes that went up through the stairwells and through the elevator shafts. And the people died from inhaling toxic fumes. Whew. That was on this date back in 1980. Birthdays. Voltaire. You should read Voltaire. He was very prolific. He wrote everything. He wrote essays, plays, poems. He was a newspaper. He wrote novels. He wrote essays, scientific papers. He was the first author known author to make his primary living and become famous worldwide as somebody who writes things. And it's one thing to write things, but it doesn't do you any good unless anybody reads it. The great Voltaire, the French writer and philosopher. It's pretty good stuff. Born in the state in 1694. For somebody who's born in 1694, lived a long time. Lived to the age of 83. He was also censored a lot, but we won't get into that. Voltaire, born in the state in 1694. Haiti Green, the famous millionaire from Wall Street, made a lot of money by loaning people money when they really, really needed it. During economic downturns, she inherited $1 million when her dad died. She was 30. Then she married a millionaire. Then he died. And by the time she died, she was worth $200 million. And she was well known for being really, really cheap. She would wear one dress until it literally fell apart and rotted away. Then she would just wear another dress. And her son died because, well, he got sick and she refused medical treatment. She took him to quacks and things like that. Haiti Green, a legend in Wall Street, born in the state in 1834. Stan Musial was born in Donora, Pennsylvania, 103 years ago today. Perhaps the most he and Frank Robinson, I think, are the two most underrated baseball players of all time. Stan the Man Musial, Baseball Hall of Fame, class of 1969, spent his entire career with the Cardinals. 3 times an MVP, 3 times a world champion. Again, born in Donora, Pennsylvania, 103 years ago. And born in Donora, Pennsylvania, 54 years ago. He has to be the greatest sports legend in Pacific Northwest history. I don't think there's any question about it. All due respect to Edgar Martinez and some of the others who really made their name here in the Pacific Northwest and the Seattle area. I don't care if they're Sonics or Seahawks or Huskies or Mariners. You got to give it to Ken Griffey Jr., who is the definitive sports legend in this area, unquestioned. Ken Griffey Jr. is 54 years old today. Happy birthday to the kid. 37 minutes after the hour. Thanks once again to our friends at Alpine Air, platinum sponsors of all the quality local programming here on the NCW Life Channel, even the programs that really aren't so hot. Doesn't matter to them. They're on board. Alpine Air. For heat and air, call Alpine Air. Still to come, an opinion from Mike Mad Dog McNaughty, and then you should probably get to know Jackie Maycumber. She is a representative, state representative from the 7th District. She now represents a pretty good chunk of our viewing area after redistricting, so she paid us a visit a couple of weeks ago. Jefferson Robbins and his visit with Jackie Maycumber coming up. You're watching Wake Up in Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Life Channel.
Check out ClubCrowCashmere.com for upcoming events and tickets.
Hey, this is Mike Mad Dog McNaughty, and everybody is entitled to my opinion. Now, I'm a huge fan of the Renaissance artist Michelangelo. Now, come on, that man, he was an incredible genius, and his sculptures are nothing short of miraculous. Good grief. Thinking of him often makes me wonder, where are the similar geniuses of today? And I have to admit, among others, I think Pete Townsend of The Who is one. Really. I mean, despite his drinking, drugging, and libertine lifestyle, which actually, frankly, puts him in the company of other artistic geniuses, his creation of the rock opera Tommy, as well as many of his other works, puts him right up there. Now, Alan Turing, the father of the theoretical science that broke the Nazi naval Enigma code, is certainly another. And another one of my favorites, a comic genius, Steve Harvey of Family Feud. Oh, come on, that guy is incredible. Tell me I'm wrong. Well, maybe not as genius as Michelangelo, but genius in a different way. Steve Harvey. Gotcha, dude. Hey, this is Mike Mad Dog Magnati, and that's my opinion.
Hey man, how's it going?
Getting better, actually, thanks.
Did they give you anything for pain after surgery? Because I think I may have some left over.
Nah, that's all right, man. Actually, me and my doctor talked about not sharing prescriptions, and that ibuprofen is a good option for me. The risk of addiction is not worth it.
Makes sense.
Take the next step. Don't share your prescriptions, and talk to your friends about the dangers of opioids.
Most of us are in touch with the internet in one way or another all day long. A fast, secure connection matters. It keeps us entertained, informed, and in touch. Local cares about your connection. We know strong, reliable internet with your choice of speed makes life better. If you need fast, reliable internet, or maybe an upgrade, or you just have questions, connect with us by visiting localtel.com or call 509-888-8888 today.
Jefferson Robbins with NCW Life. If you live in Douglas County and you think you're still in the 12th legislative district, that might not be true anymore, and in fact it might not have been true since 2021 when redistricting took place, as it does every 10 years. Most Douglas County residents outside East Wenatchee now reside in the 7th legislative district. One of their legislators joins me today, Representative Jacqueline Maycomber. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm grateful you could be here. With the 7th district and the redistricting that happened, your territory is vast.
It is.
It is quite large. Okanagan County, the Colville Reservation, Pend Oreille County, part of Grant County. Can you tell me about the part that you live in?
I live in Ferry County. I grew up there. We have quite a few generations. We live on the family ranch, which is over 100 years old in production. And it's an amazing place to grow up and raise your children.
What's it been like to venture to this portion of the new district and introduce yourself to your new constituency?
Well, it's nice because I think we hold the same cultural and values. Eastern Washington really understands what it means to work hard for your dollar. The farming and the ranching, using that natural resource to, have those long generational lives and then support that in a way. So it's really important that we try to keep our children here and make sure we educate them and they feel good about innovation as we move forward. So it's been amazing. I'm really happy to represent the new district.
When you talk to people here in wheat country, do you find that the concerns are the same as they are in ranch country?
Very similar, very similar. We want to make sure that there's less restrictions and we have the ability to bring our product to market and have a fair shake in that conversation and making sure that we are still producing that next generation.
Well, you were elected in 2017 and you are now the Republican floor leader in the House. That's a pretty fast climb. So was it a challenge to learn the ropes, or how did you have to apply yourself in order to win that trust in your party?
Well, I think it's always being honest. Your word is your bond in politics. What you say, you have to do. And making sure that you move forward and represent your constituency no matter what. That's the most important thing when you go to Olympia. And then having that trust and that honor with your caucus to be able to have that communication back and forth across the aisle. That's the most important thing when you talk about being a leader in Olympia, is having that communication and having trust and integrity.
And the responsibilities of floor leader, explain those for us.
Well, when you go to the floor, you're battling bills and you're having conversations and you're really talking about what's important for the constituency in your district and how the policy affects it. So the most important thing that we do is we make sure that we are allowed that conversation. So whether you're in downtown Seattle or Ferry County, we want to know what that bill does for your constituency. And so open communication and the civility of conversation in government, that's what made this country great. And that is what's continuing to make the state great, as long as we continue those doors to be open and the communication to stay open.
You talk about battling, and as I understand it, the last legislative session had several of those.
Oh.
Can you identify the one that you took to heart most, that you thought was most important, whatever the outcome might have been? What was the key fight for you?
Well, I would say two really important issues for all of us would be, one, the decriminalization of drug use. There was an experiment, I would say, done after the Supreme Court ruling, which the legislature said, let's decriminalize drugs and see what happens for 2 years, with no infrastructure of making sure people have the ability to get clean and rehabilitation. And those last 2 years, you've seen a huge increase in drug abuse, and especially in our youth, and really the effects of those policy. Making sure that we have in place important legislation for the health and safety of the people in the district and the next generation, that they're not affected by heroin, fentanyl, and methamphetamines, and that law enforcement has the ability to protect people. That is the most important thing. After the police reform bills, as we would call them, where police cannot touch or detain without probable cause, really did affect how you and I were safe. You see everything from property crimes to violent criminals and crimes increasing in the last couple of years. We really need to make sure, one, that when a criminal commits a crime, they're detained, and you as a community is protected and in a family, and then making sure that law enforcement can do their job. And those two policies in the last 2 years have really affected all of us and touched every single one of us. So making sure those two policies actually came back to more of a central understanding that if you're doing drugs, dealing drugs, or affected by drugs, and if you're a law enforcement officer trying to protect the community, you can do those two things. So that was the most important thing.
And drug possession in most amounts now is a gross misdemeanor, previously a felony. That was thrown out by the Supreme Court, and they left it to the legislature to develop the infrastructure that you talk about. So
yes, the word knowingly that you possess it. I had a bill 1415 that just made it a gross misdemeanor. That bill did not pass, but another policy that was a little softer, gross misdemeanor, but making sure that we have that understanding that people need to be able to get clean, not just walking past them.
What made you want to run for the House in the first place?
Well, I saw growing up in Eastern Washington and seeing as a graduation went and our kids left and they had to go to other places to become successful or become educated, you know, making sure our kids had the same opportunities we did. And I didn't really see that happening in the last few years. So making sure that they have the opportunity to education, the economic opportunities, and then the futures in our community, that we're not exporting our greatest generation or our greatest commodity, and that's our kids.
Well, one thing that you brought forward through the House, talking about kids and opportunities, was House Bill 1013, which established regional apprenticeship programs for the trades. What spurred that, and what kind of effects do you expect the bill to have?
Well, I'm very excited. It's been signed into law. So right here in Douglas County, we're going to see the great benefits, hopefully soon. So what it did, it's kind of like Running Start for the trades. So instead of college, you should have the opportunity to learn some skills and some trades for your future. And the building trades and a lot of other trades, from medical field to anything from plumbing, you need those skills. And I saw kids graduating high school with not understanding, what their skill set is, what they felt good about, and hope. Really hope for the future. If you knew you were going to go to college, you had that opportunity. But if you didn't, where would you go? And asking them to move somewhere was a little more difficult. Get training somewhere else, go somewhere. So having that opportunity while you're in high school, that's the most important thing, and learning what you're good at. So I'm very excited about this policy. It was signed into law. It passed the House and the Senate, and I'm really excited to, once again, get those skills, what we call hands-on skills, back into high schools. So kids will, when they leave, they will have a job, they'll have an opportunity, or they'll have a skill.
It establishes trade centers, or trades education centers, 5 of them, I think, statewide, 2 of which have to be on the east side of the Cascades.
Yes.
So you see those outreaches having benefits for your district, Douglas County, I think you mentioned?
Yes, absolutely. So the Eastern Washington ones are directed towards the ESDs. So our whole ESD 171 will have access. So each high school has access to the curriculum, which is one of the curriculums they can choose is the AGC, so general contractors. So that's a basis that has been approved through the state of Washington, or apprenticeships can come in, whether that's plumbers or pipe fitters or operators or carpenters. They can come in to the high schools, provide the curriculum, so they're learning that opportunity and that hands-on skills, and we can do it all through the corridor on 171 and Eastern Washington 101.
You also have been a campaigner for youth with diabetes, young people struggling with type 1 diabetes, which is congenital and manifests in puberty, generally speaking. You had one bill that would have capped the cost of insulin for patients under 21. didn't pass this most recent session. Are you disappointed about that? Do you see that being revised and brought back?
Well, 2 years ago, I got the bill passed to cap it at $100, so that was a big step in the right direction. Making sure that we have the conversation and that we look at medical costs. I think that's really important. Yes, I would have liked to seen it capped for the youth to really see that they have the opportunity. This is, and a lot of people don't know, it is a life-saving drugs. It's not something that you can not take. It's not something that you can ration. It's life or death, and sometimes life or death by the hour. So having that conversation, how do we provide that medication to individuals and making sure they have access to it? I think that is one. I'm now in a group of parents that I never thought I was going to be in until one day. I am a mother of a type 1 diabetic, and I see the challenges of access and opportunity for those who do not have the ability to afford it and those who have to have it. And so having that conversation is really important, and having access.
It's lifelong maintenance, and it's not just maintenance of your quality of life, but as you say, maintenance of your life.
Absolutely.
You're also on a couple of committees, Capital Budget Committee with Mike Steele from the 12th District is your partner on that committee. The Rules Committee, the Healthcare and Wellness Committee. Do you expect to keep the same assignments in this upcoming session?
I do. And I enjoy all my committees as floor leader. It gives me opportunities to take on those roles and then mostly focus on the floor. But healthcare is so important, and then making sure we invest in our communities with capital budget. That's what we're going to do for the future. So I have a great opportunity on being on those committees.
We saw you recently up in the OMAC area, also part of the 7th District, with Congressman Dan Newhouse was there, State Senator Shelley Short, also from the 7th District, were there to talk about grizzly reintroduction and the possibilities of that happening in the North Cascades. Where do you stand on that proposal? I think I know, but you can tell me.
Well, I mentioned that the individuals there, we had a hand raising who would be for introduction and who would be against. Approximately 6 people raised their hand for the introduction, and who were against was approximately 200 that had been counted. So that gives you an idea of those 200 individuals who are living who are growing fruit trees, who are growing food, who really don't want those bears down in that area, and we don't have the infrastructure for protection. So I really fear that apex predator again being introduced, and the state and the federal government really not doing what was agreed upon when we talk about management for the health and safety of our communities and for our natural resources. So enjoying those natural hikes, enjoying being a part of living in Eastern Washington is also being safe out in the woods. So I am opposed to the introduction of the grizzly bear into our area, and really understanding that habitat. Can the area support that apex predator? We've had studies in 2005 that shows that they can't, especially in this area. I would really like to see us really stop and hit the brakes when it comes to introducing predators that, our children will not be able to enjoy the outdoors.
Has your ranch had to deal with problems of reintroduced gray wolves since that program started about a decade ago?
I've been very lucky, and I've left that to Senator Short and Joel Kretz, who've been working on it over a decade. So I've been lucky to kind of stay out of that area and that issue, but it's been traumatizing, and you've really seen a lack in farms and ranches in my area because of that issue. You've really seen the dwindling, the selling, and then the building, and really breaking up those family farms that have been there a century.
Well, you're going back to Olympia on January 8th for the new House session, a shorter session of the legislature. What's your first order of business? What do you want to try and put across the finish line? Well,
I think the most important thing is that you do no harm. And you're really seeing the effects of the last couple years in huge pieces of legislation. So one of those being cap and trade. That is a policy that the people have voted against repeatedly, and that's why you're paying an extra 49 cents to $1 a gallon in your gas in Washington State. If you want to know why your heat's a little more, it's because of cap and trade. It's a policy that passed the legislature that said this money will be used for something else. Right now, it's a $1.3 billion fund. It hasn't been used, and they're looking to link your tax dollars and your payment for gas, and which is increasing your food costs, and you're increasing your heating your home, with Ontario and California now, and more like they call it a cap and trade. It's kind of like a money back and forth system which builds up this large fund. The legislature voted to use a small portion of that for maintenance and preservation for transportation. We agreed 97-1 in the House, so this was a bipartisan agreement. And the governor vetoed it. So now every dollar is still in this fund. I think we're all struggling over here, and sometimes Olympia can make decisions even though the constituency votes against it in the state of Washington, and continuously increases this cost. I think we need to go back and say, listen, the public doesn't want to pay for this. It is too much. If you live in a border city, you really see that difference from Washington state taxes to Idaho, Oregon, anywhere around us, that increase. And when we go into the winter months, that increase in those energy costs are really going to hurt struggling families. Your food has gone up, everything's gone up. So really looking at cap and trade, that passed on partisan lines. And I really think the people need to be heard now, which says, you went too far, you went too fast, it's too much. Don't link it with Canada or California or continue to increase these costs. Let's stop and focus on the people who are making the dollar, the people who are struggling to pay the tax. And I think that's the most important thing, is really listen to the people who are making these decisions, not the politicians in Olympia.
You want guardrails on that program, or do you want to see it rolled back altogether?
I would really like to see people be able to keep some of those hard-earned dollars right now, especially with the increases in inflation and costs. That's one of the most important things. So we can feed our families at home, make sure our kids are educated. What this fund is going to be used for, I couldn't tell you now, but is it more important than people struggling to get to a doctor on a fixed income? Not right now, no.
Representative Maycomber, we said at the beginning this was kind of an introductory visit. Is there anything I didn't ask about that you think your constituents in this expanded 7th district should know?
It's an honor to represent you. It's an honor to move forward in this new district. I think our district is large, been powerful, and I love being a part of it. I love growing up here, and I hope to make sure my children have the opportunities to move here and stay here and raise their children here.
State Representative Jacqueline Maycomber with the 7th District of Washington. Thanks a lot for being here.
Thank you.
You're watching the NCW Live channel.
Bring the whole family up to Stormy Mountain Brewing and local public house in historic downtown Chelan. Applewood smoked brisket, street-style tacos, and our award-winning barbecue rubs and sauces. Our meals pair perfectly with our exciting lineup of craft ales, made right here in Chelan. We've got room for big groups, or give us a call for catering. So grab the kids and check out the fun at Stormy Mountain Brewing and local public house located in the heart of Chelan.
Gather your loved ones this holiday season at Washington's premier mountain resort, Sun Mountain Lodge. Join us for a lavish Thanksgiving feast where warmth and tradition meets gourmet cuisine. Celebrate Christmas with 4-course meals that will enhance your taste buds. Bring in the new year with a bang at our unforgettable New Year's Eve party. And watch as the night sky explodes with dazzling fireworks. Book your holiday getaway to Sun Mountain Lodge.
Clouds are hanging around, still 34 degrees, right where we were when we started this show just about an hour ago. And the clouds will be hanging around today and tomorrow. In fact, it's going to kind of feel like Groundhog's Day. We had a beautiful Sunday, had that late afternoon sunshine on Sunday, got up to 50 degrees. And then yesterday, today, and tomorrow, pretty much the same. High clouds, couple of spittles of rain. We're under the influence of high pressure. That ridge of high pressure is going to start sliding out of our area late tonight into Wednesday morning. That's going to allow a weak trough of moisture to come in, but it's kind of just going to meander in and kind of go, what's going on? And then it's going to leave. Light snow in the mountains, no problems on your commute. If you're heading, it doesn't matter if you're heading from here to there or there to here and you're planning on taking Stevens, I-90 Blewett, you're going to be fine. A little bit of light snow at the summit of Stevens Pass tomorrow, and that's really about it. From the National Weather Service, here we go. Lots of clouds, just like yesterday. A little bit of light rain possible. I don't think it's going to happen. About 44, just about normal for this time of the year. Slight chance of some light rain tonight. I don't think it's going to happen. 35 for the overnight low, right around there. Maybe a degree or two warmer on Wednesday because we're going to have a warmer start to the day, about 47. And then just in time for a gobble, 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 gobble day. How about sunshine at 45, and then sunshine at 45 on Friday. Small business Saturday, sunshine at 42. I like that. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
There you go.
But this kind has a much nobler job than protecting grain.
And our heartbeat was, what can we do to help these orphans?
And then, from up in the air
to down on the farm,
we hit the heights in Door County, Wisconsin.
Welcome to Small Town Big Deal. I'm Rodney Miller.
And I'm Jan Carl.
You know,